It was in May, I think, of 2011, and the sense of identification that I felt when people shared, or when there were readings. So that was probably the first thing I felt, was identification. And then a sense of calm, like the savage beast in my breast was calmed, and my urge to be, nasty and cruel just diminished. I think within in the space of my first 12-step meeting. Then after the meeting, I got to talk to people in the program, and there was an immediate sense of comradeship and the beginning of friendship. There was a lot of laughter in the room. And then as I kept going back, of course, there were people there who had it much worse than me in some aspects. And so even though we were all insane, we weren't all alike. We're insane, but we were not insane alike. We were insane in different ways, so we could help each other. So living in Los Angeles, it can be a big city, but there's kind of a small town feel in the program, in the meetings. As you got to know each other, you exchange phone numbers, there's fellowship after meetings. But it was calm. That was the main thing I got out of that first program, the first few meetings. And my day would just go better, and my desire to act out just diminished, and my need to use other people diminished, and kind of started to have some peace with myself and with my place in the universe. And over time, that's one of the big gifts of 12-step programs to my life, is just like this sense that I'm gliding through life. I'm rarely at odds with other people, like rarely having a massive conflicts with others. Just get along with people to different degrees, of course, but the program helps me develop my relationships with others to the best extent possible, and so I'm not constantly at loggerheads. Like, my life is not just all sorts of conflict and tension and resentment and anger and vituperation and desire for retribution and like all these nasty, dangerous cycles that fed upon each other. They started to fall away from my life. Didn't see that car. Whoops. Almost got into a major conflict with that vehicle. So yeah, I love the sense of just gliding through life. And I used to wake up at 2 a.m. and I just see my life with this stark clarity, and I'd realize that I was heading in the wrong direction, and that was not a good feeling. Like, I just get this frightening clarity at 2 a.m. and just wake up in a cold sweat, just kind of haunted by the direction my life has taken, the direction my life was heading in, the dangers that I was creating for myself, the self-destructive cycles that I was stuck in, and the memories of people who felt betrayed or let down by me, good people, and so I'd feel guilty, and so I'd want to act out to try to get rid of the guilt, and then the guilt and shame would just intensify. Then other programs that I dealt with regarding money. I remember from the very first meeting, I had this tremendous sense that there was a path ahead. Wow, this guy just drops his bike in the middle of the road. Okay, now he's picking it up again because his hat fell off. So, from the very first meetings in 12-step programs regarding possession consciousness, debting, under-owning, poverty mentality, it's like, whoa, I see a path forward. I had over $50,000 in credit card debt at the time. I'd never earned over $45,000 in my life. And suddenly from the very first meetings, it's like, oh, there's a way out. There is a program. This applies. I can see how this can work, and I can do it. And there's a community of people who can be of support, and that I can be of support to, that I can contribute to. I can find my substitute family. I can be with people who understand me, understand my challenges, because like people who know me from childhood, they may not understand the spiritual sickness of under-owning, spiritual sickness of debting, the spiritual sickness of hoarding, and spiritual sickness of needing to create drama wherever I go. But when I step into these rooms, these 12 steps rooms, then people get me, even though they don't know me. We share similar challenges, and the other thing that comes from the meetings, you see people who've made massive recovery. Like you see the gifts of the program, and they're big. They're really big, and like you see people who've had problems, like guys who've had problems with domestic violence, who have been addicted to picking up hookers and catching all sorts of nasty STDs, and now settling down. They're married, they have children. It's like, whoa! Like this guy had, caught every major STD under the sun. He was arrested for domestic violence. Couldn't sustain a relationship, and now he's married. He's got kids. He's got a flourishing career. Doesn't just have a job. He works for himself. He earns well over 6 figures. And it's like, whoa! That's a real benefit of the program. There's so many gifts of the program that I see. Just noticed one woman got married in the program and got a home, bought a house. Actually, had been living in the same apartment. Years were going by, and it was this program and the goals pages and challenging her to figure out what she really wanted out of life, and like, do you want to get married? And she's like, oh, do I want to? I guess it'd be nice, but do you really want to get married? And so she made that a goal, and she made it happen. I like that I've been able to carve out so much time to just pursue my vision, to pursue the making of my videos, to work on my writing, to read the books I want to read, to buy the books I want to buy, see the movies I want to see. Okay, here are some signs of recovery. This is just from one program. It's from SLA, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. Program helps people with relationships. Following the signs of recovery from sex and love addiction: seek to develop a daily relationship with a higher power, knowing that we are not alone in our efforts to heal ourselves from our addiction. We are willing to become vulnerable because the capacity to trust has been restored to us by our faith in a higher power. So these 2 points, that works across the board in 12-step programs in my experience. We surrender one day at a time. Our whole life strategy of and our obsession with the pursuit of romantic and sexual intrigue, or you could just substitute that, our pursuit of codependent relationships, or of drama, or of under-owning or debting, or whatever your emotional addiction is. And if the addiction's deep enough, you probably build a whole life strategy around trying to satisfy this addiction. It might be an addiction to porn or to alcohol or to drugs, and I realized it just kind of warped my whole life. We learn to avoid situations that may put us at risk morally, physically, psychologically, or spiritually. Yeah. So I avoid people who put me at risk. I avoid people the best I can who just make me unhappy. People who are just needlessly cruel. I just want smooth, safe relationships. I don't need psychopaths in my life. Yeah, I know they're very exciting, and initially they can just intuit the kind of feedback you want and provide it for you, and just feel so good. But then it just turns into an absolute nightmare. So yeah, just intuitively learn to avoid people and places and situations put my sobriety at risk. That's another major benefit of the program. Having opportunities to volunteer, to be of service, to help other people. There's just so many ways, from getting there early to set up the chairs, to putting the chairs away, to greeting newcomers, to receiving program calls. And now when I'm receiving, say, a program call, I've had to deal with this. As you can imagine, a lot of people in 12-step programs, they have problems with depression, or they're just mentally ill. And so if I get people who just want to whine about their problems, or they're just sunk in a depression, I cut them off. Like in a program call, within 2 minutes, I want us to be talking about the solution, which is working the 12 steps, which is studying and living the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous. I just don't want to wallow in someone's depression. Like, people would call me up and say, "Oh, I don't know how to, buy a car, or need to find a new place to live, or my computer's not working, or I think I need to go on workers' compensation, or I think I need to make a disability claim," and they will just complain and complain and complain. No, I need to cut that off. I don't need that in my life. I want to talk about the solution. I don't want to go to meetings where everyone's just talking about their problems. I want to go to meetings where people are talking about the solution. And the solution is not just God, okay? It's not just relationship with God, devoting yourself to God, loving God, sensing the presence of God. Because I grew up with that. Okay, I grew up with a ton of that as a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, all about the personal relationship with God, and it didn't do anything for my emotional addiction. So just God on his own, in my experience, not enough. You need community rules, guidelines, steps, literature. You need the 12 steps. We learn to accept and love ourselves, to take responsibility for our own lives, take care of our own needs before involving ourselves with others. We become willing to ask for help, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, and learning to trust and accept others. Yeah, that's a big thing, being willing to ask for help. That's a major thing that I've learned in a 12-step program. Okay, Movement Critic says Richard Spencer's wife's accusations are credible. He says two things he regularly says. Okay, what does the rabbi say about the Golden Rule? Well, the Golden Rule comes from the book of Leviticus, Vayikra in Hebrew. So, Golden Rule has been an essential part of Judaism for 3,200 years plus. And you can either formulate it in the positive, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, or do not do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. So either way works. But it's not enough. If you've got some serious emotional addiction, you need to come to terms with how it's warped your life, how you've developed a whole life strategy around satisfying your addiction. Come to terms with the wreckage this has created in your relationships with friends, family, at work, how you put your life at risk in the pursuit of satisfying your addiction. You need to really come to terms with what your addictions cost you, so that you will then be ready to work the steps, to get a sponsor, to do the hard work of recovery, to study the big book, to answer questions, to share your answers with at least one other person in the program. You're not gonna recover from stuff that you can't share with anyone. So it's important to develop trusting relationships. Okay, we allow ourselves to work through the pain of our low self-esteem and our fears of abandonment and responsibility. We learn to feel comfortable in solitude. Yeah, I used to want women to prop me up, excitement around sex and love and adulation and attention seeking, and news media attention and getting on TV. I used to allow that to prop myself up. We begin to accept our imperfections and mistakes as part of being human, healing our shame and perfectionism while working on our character defects. Well, I don't think we actually work on our character defects. We work the program, and as we work the program, as we connect with a higher power, then our character defects start to be ameliorated. But we don't really work on them directly. We work the 12 steps to get in touch with that miracle, that divine transcendence. And then miraculously, our self-defeating addictions just start to drop away. Bye-bye.